Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode. Well, we've been working on this Augusta National golf course painting over the last few days. The last video, if you remember, I was working on these trees here. Now, there may still be a little bit left to do there, but we'll leave that to the end if indeed there is. But what we're going to be working on today is some of that shorter grass. I've had some of you ask how to paint or how I paint the shorter grass. Well, I'm going to show you in this video. It's not difficult. It's a pretty simple technique once you know how, and I'm going to show you how I do that. I'm going to work to begin with on the area here. Not going to work on the green just yet. We're going to work on that part. I think what we're going to do first of all is we're going to add a flat colour, and then after that we'll add any texture where it's needed. So what I'm going to do, using just a flat Series 7 here, is just going to get the colours right, just get another, almost like another blocking, because the blocking that you can see here, it's not even. You know, you can see where the brush stroke has caused these little lines here. So we're going to even that out, we're going to smooth it out, we'll add texture afterwards. Right, so now I'm going to start adding some of that texture, and I'm going to do that to begin with the Series 5, size 3/8. This is the comber brush, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in the slightly darker areas, and then once I've done that, the lighter areas. So I'm not putting too much on the brush. And then just doing almost like a sideways brush stroke, just holding the brush horizontal and very gently just putting in slight texture. Once we've done those darker shades, then of course we can go and put in, where we can see them, the lighter shades over the top. What we tend to have, these darker areas do tend to be more in the way of lines like that. So just following the way the land is there, the lie of the land. Okay, so that's the dark. Back to those lighter tones again. So now let's continue working on the green and the area surrounding it. Now, one of the things I think I am going to do with the green is I'm going to do it one colour. I'm not going to do those shadows on. In fact, I'm not going to do the shadows really on any of this foreground grass to begin with. I'm going to imagine that the shadows of the trees aren't actually there at the moment, and then I'm probably going to put those in with a glaze afterwards. So let's forget about the shadows for the time being, and let's just get those colours right, imagining that the sun is shining on it with no shadows whatsoever. So let's start working, getting the colour right of that green first. I'm going to go to the Tree and Texture Series 3, and we're going to mix up that nice green. It's a much warmer green than we've been seeing in the rest of the painting. So what this is doing, it's giving us the right texture, because although that green is ever so smooth, you're still going to get some variation in colours and tones. So, of course, we need to add shadows to that, but what we're going to do now is just refine the edge a little more. We have an area of too much light, basically, within that. I'm going to go back to the Coma brush, Series 5. I'm just going to refine the edge a little bit by getting rid of those areas of light, just neatening up on the edge of the green. So, as the grass is getting nearer, we're making slightly bigger brush marks, not too much, but slightly bigger. Not only because the grass is getting closer, so therefore you can see more detail, it's getting bigger, the grass blade is getting bigger, but also probably the grass is a bit longer in this foreground area as well. So that's the base done. Obviously we've still got work to do there. We've got details to add around the edge. We've still got those shadows to put across the front of the green and through the bunkers. Perhaps even some more detail at the front. So there's more to do, but that is a good base to then put the shadows on. What we do need to do, if we're going to do a glaze for those shadows, we need for this to be dry. So I'm going to leave this to dry overnight, and we're going to come back to this again in the morning. Okay, so this is a new day for me. We've let the painting dry overnight. I'll just show you where we are. So where we'd left it yesterday, or where I had left it yesterday, you had left it a few minutes ago, we've been working on the foreground here. It's now dry. What we need to do is add the shadows that are being cast from the trees. Well, not those trees, but as you can see here, we have shadows going across the green, and that's what we need to do now. We're going to do that with a glaze, and we're going to start that right now. What I've done is I've added a small amount of sap green, and I mean a very small amount of sap green, a very small amount of ivory black to some liquid. So the majority of this mixture is liquid, with just the smallest amount of colour. Now looking at that, it may well be too dark. Let me just soften it. Probably not the best brush to soften it with. I think we need something more like my fan blender. There we are. Now I think possibly we've added slightly too much black to the mix. So all I'm going to do is add more liquid. Possibly, actually, let me give this some thought. I might add the smallest amount of phthalo green yellow shade as well. Now let's see where we are with this. So remember, this is ever so thinned down. Well, I say it's not thinned down, it's mixed with so much liquid that it's a very, very thin glaze. And because we are doing a glaze, we don't need to adjust the colour as we move off of the green area here. We can just continue with that all the way down and along that grass there. And that's basically how we're doing it. And it's just a very quick way of putting shadows in, and you can do this for shadows on any surface, really. Now, if you do need to darken the shadows in any areas, we just need to add a little bit more pigment, so a bit more paint to the liquid. So it's a stronger glaze, I suppose you'd call it. And that's particularly important where you, well, basically just where you have those darker areas. And I'll show you as we move over to this area here what I mean by that. So we can add a little bit more of the sap green and a touch of the ivory black. I'm going to cool it just with some blue. I've got some French ultramarine. So I've added a little bit more ivory black to the mix now, and as you can see, still a glaze, but just a darker one. And we can soften that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. That is the painting finished. Very pleased with it. I did a few other little bits just to finish it off. But anyway, there it is. Hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget, if you do want to learn more in-depth lessons, or you want to see more in-depth lessons and you want to learn to paint like this, then please check out my website, www.shopmichaeljamessmith.com. I shall see you all in the next video. Stay safe, everybody. Bye for now.